It's tournament time, baby. Let's talk about it because UCLA's taking on UNC Asheville. Let's talk about some quick keys for UCLA to beat UNC Asheville and beat them Bulldogs. Let's talk about it on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, it's Anderson-Yoxsimer. Sorry about no episode yesterday. We're going through it because it's tournament time, baby. Let's go Bruins. Welcome to Locked On UCLA. This will be a quick show because we'll react and have lots of content over the weekend. So we're trying to space it out here and in between because UCLA takes on the Bulldogs 2 versus 15. The Bruins are looking not to get upset and go on a big run during the month of March. Thanks for making Locked On UCLA your first listen. It's free wherever you get your podcast and it's available on YouTube. So like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for all of your support because we are now over 1,000 subscribers. Let's continue the fun through March, through April, and even on to the last year of the Pac-12 into the Big Ten. So let's get locked and loaded. UCLA, well, the big storylines come as follows. One, how are they going to play with potentially a Dembona out? Videos of practice, people reporting, various sources, all the videos to the open practice. Dembona, left shoulder, very, very sore. Mick Cronin was a bit mum in terms of his availability at this recording of the podcast for him playing, and he was so much favoring his left shoulder that he was only using his right. He is right-handed, but keeping that right hand and right shoulder as the dominant hand without using that left shoulder as much, which means he won't get the 6'11 assignment. He won't get the assignment against the 6'11 Drew Pember, the Tennessee transfer. We talked about him before, Max and I did, and he's one of the best players in the country, Drew Pember is. Yes, he's playing at UNC Asheville, but he averages over 20 points per game, nearly 30 points per game in the likes of the Big South tournament. Is one of the best players, is the best player, getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls, and making free throws. So that is worrisome. So key number one is Hawkes, who at the moment looks like he's going to get that defensive assignment. Don't get into foul trouble. Mick Cronin hopefully doesn't throw people out there that have to go defend him if Hawkes is in foul trouble and not let Pember get easy points at the line with the clock stopped. So one, we've already mentioned this, but we have to mention this specifically for this game considering Pember is such a weapon getting to the line, 37% from three. He is pretty much not the whole team, but he is the end. He just runs the whole thing. He does almost everything for UNC Asheville, the former Volunteers, the preseason player of the year in his conference, the player of the year, the conference tournament MVP. So UCLA has to shut him down. But the key is, and we've already discussed this, UCLA has the ability to turn teams over. Number 7 in the country when it comes to points per game against is UCLA. They were number 1 in the Pac-12. So for a UNC Asheville team that averages about 75 points per game, one would think UCLA, hopefully, even without Jalen Clark out for the year, a Dembona's status up in the air for this game and maybe the whole weekend, we don't know at this very moment, UCLA can clamp down defensively, force some turnovers, because Pember clearly far and away has the ball in his hand quite a bit. And yet he has over 110, something ridiculous turnovers. Despite having 80 assists on the year, close to it, he just turns it over so much. And so did the Bulldogs that UCLA has to key on that and turn it into fast break points just to will the Bulldogs to sleep. And that's the way UCLA can put this game to bed fairly quickly. All the UCLA Bruins have to do is stay out of foul trouble and play typical Bruin defense. This is a game I wholeheartedly think UNC Asheville can hit some threes because it's not just the likes of Drew Pember. You have Tajon Jones, who's another key cog in the lineup because Jones averages 15 points per game. He's the all-time leading scorer. 3-point shot, he averages 40. He's a 45% three-point shooter. Jones is one of the 1A, 1B combo with Pember. Pember just put them over the top in the Big South, but Jones is a career Bulldog. So that's another guy you have to look out for if you're UCLA. Between those two, stopping Pember and making sure Jones doesn't go off from three, that is what's going to keep UCLA not having to play a full 40 minutes. I do think this might be a game for 20 minutes for certain, especially with UCLA dealing with slow starts, injuries, and soreness and everything in between, but they've had about 5 days to recover now from that Saturday late night loss to Arizona, and then with the early day in Sacramento, the Bruins sticking in the West. One hopes that I believe their 26 or 27-1 record in California during the NCAA tournament holds, so they've got that going for them. Offensively, this is the key for UCLA. How can they score the basketball? I think this would be a good game for Amari Bailey to step up, get a nice 20-piece for UCLA, take the weight off the shoulders of Hawkes, who will have a heavy defense. And who's going to take that bone, right? Who's going to take that heart and hustle deflections bone for this game? I think it should be someone from the bench. Is it a McClendon? Is it an Andrews? Is it someone who we're not expecting to try and win this game's the big bone? If you missed it, they had the Bone Award for who gets the most deflections in a game, most deflections of the year. And I think the bench has to come up with some huge deflections, whether it's an Etienne coming in or Nuba, if one of those two even have to start, according to if Bone is not able to go. And then for UCLA, you have to see, all right, can Bailey get 20, lighten the load off of the shoulders of Jaime Hawkes, and then between Tiger Campbell or David Singleton, I'd like to see one of those two guys go off offensively. And while Hawkes is getting National Player of the Year recognition, close to it, second team All-America or something like that, I'd like to see Tiger Campbell, the veteran savvy point guard, show it's his time, or the leader, David Singleton, throw up some threes and maybe end this game before it starts. But again, the way I think this one plays out is that UCLA will struggle for 20 minutes. I think that is the case. And then they close it, and they go on a big run, and turnover, big run. They miss a couple of threes, and then the Bruins go on a big run at the end there. So again, can they force the turnover? Can they stay out of foul trouble? Because even if UNC Asheville isn't hitting their first few threes to get confident early, then you let them get to the foul line. Well, that's not going to suffice for a team that only shoots 69% from the line. But their best scorer, and the guy who gets to the free throw line the most in the country, who's made the most free throws, is an 83%er. And he's got ice in his veins. He's a defensive weapon with 78 blocks. He does almost everything offensively. And Drew Pember, the nation, and probably the Bruins fans will be on lookout for Drew Pember and Tajon Jones. So we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, I don't think there's much reason to worry, but the first 20 minutes in my predictive state, I think that UCLA will struggle. It might take them a moment to get their footing, but then they'll turn it on and close out the game here in the NCAA tournament, which means be an interesting second round. We'll talk about that and more. I will react to the UCLA game after it's done. We'll have plenty of content involving this. We'll have an episode tomorrow on Friday, whether it's heartbreak, which would be brutal, or just previewing the next game. Thanks for your support. Short episode first, and we're just breaking down the content slowly but surely throughout the day. So thank you. I'm Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because FanDuel Sportsbook is the number one sportsbook in America, partnered with the NBA. And if you want to go bet the NBA, you can go get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can bet on everything from money line, point scores, to threes drained, same game parlays to even pack it out. Just know you don't want to miss your chance with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner with us at Locked On and of the NBA. So thanks for tuning in to this very shortened edition. These are my keys to the game. UCLA, I think, should win by 25, but it might be a close game at the half where UCLA just turns things around at the end of the first half and then just runs with the flurry in the second half. Again, things to look out for. Bona, how's he playing? And can the Bruins stay out of foul trouble? And do they overwhelm the Bulldogs? How much rest do they get out of this game from simply overwhelming them from the start? Or is it a grinded out game and it's one of those Cinderella upsets potentially? We'll find all that out, and I'll talk to you about it later here on Locked On UCLA. Thanks for making it your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast. Go check out Locked On College Basketball. Great show. They had a full bracket breakdown. If you still, for some reason, are looking to deal with brackets, or should be in already, so we're all excited here on Locked On UCLA. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. Go win the natty. This has been Locked On UCLA. Go Bruins.